Welcome to the Creator Archive. I'm Kaden Foremaster, and I'm the host, and I am a content creator. Now, there are so many ways that people can be content creators. For me, obviously, look at this. I'm doing a podcast. Do I know what I'm doing? No, I'm not a big-time podcaster, but I'm no stranger to being in front of a microphone. I'll tell you all about my story coming up in just a little bit, but I do have that firm belief that everybody can be a content creator, and most people are content creators. Now, your content might be posting photos to Instagram. It might be putting out videos on TikTok. It might be doing a podcast. But there are plenty of ways that people now can create content and distribute all across the world, and they can do it just by having a smartphone and internet connection. It's really easy to do. So my goal with this podcast, with the Creator Archive, is to talk with content creators. I want to sit down with the content creators of the world and figure out why they started doing what they're doing. You know, why are they doing a podcast? Why did they choose to talk about the things they're talking about on their podcast? What inspires them every day to go out there and create content? If it's a musician, who are your musical inspirations? Where did the gift of music come from for you? You know, how did you decide that that was an avenue you wanted to go down in life? These are all the questions that I want to get answered from some of our favorite content creators all across the world. So that's what this podcast is. It is about talking with our favorite content creators and figuring out why they do what they do, getting a little bit of an inside scoop into them and their lives, and maybe a little bit of backstory behind what you see on your screen or what you hear in your headphones. So with that, I feel like I deserve to introduce myself as well, so you know why I am creating content. This goes back a long ways for me. I have always been a content creator at heart. At the very least, I've been a content creator at heart. When I was growing up through high school, I really loved to go and make videos. You know, I was in classes where I made videos. I loved making music as well. I grew up playing a lot of instruments, and so I've always enjoyed music. That's been a big thing. And so for me, I always knew that something creative was probably a good avenue in my life. And when I was in high school, I decided to try out some of these avenues. You know, for me, it was, again, making videos. I took some classes in high school to do that. One of those things that I did a lot when it came to working through high school and doing videos was doing sports broadcasting. I loved sports broadcasting in high school. Now, we were just, at our local high school. I am from a school where my graduating class was 48 people. It's pretty small. It's a very small school. So there were a lot of opportunities for things like that. It wasn't super competitive, but also it wasn't like we had a ton of eyeballs on the things that we were creating anyway. So for me, doing some sports broadcasting meant that I was basically just behind a camera. You know, I'd show up and I'd film some sports. Sometimes I'd go down on the sideline and just grab some highlights that we would use in a weekly, like, morning announcements that our school would do. But that's really where I started to fall in love with videoing things, with finding ways to present a story, just with being creative in general. So as a high schooler, I want to say it was my senior year of high school. Me and my fellow seniors, we went to a university tour of the closest college campus to us, and we did kind of like a career day, but I guess it would be more of a kind of an interest in majors that this school offered. And they had different little meetings, you could say, with the different departments, and you could choose which ones you wanted to go to. One of them was sports broadcasting. And I thought at the time, well, I really like sports broadcasting. I really am enjoying this aspect of it that I'm kind of already doing. It's really fun. And I want to see if this is something that I should continue pursuing further. So I jump into the seminar And there are about 100 kids inside of this TV studio on the college campus. The guy that was giving the seminar told us, amongst all of the people that were in there, he said, of everyone in this room, I want you to know that sports broadcasting is an extremely competitive field, and that the likelihood of even 2 of you being successful in this field is very small. And that was crushing. Because this guy just basically told me that don't pursue what you're doing because the likelihood of you getting it is so small. There's no point. Pursue something else. That's what it felt like he was telling me. And I kind of rode with that. I thought, okay, sports broadcasting is not the way to go. But broadcasting in general, it's a broader field. If sports could happen, that'd be cool because I like sports, but it's okay if it doesn't. And so I just decided, okay, well, I'm just going to learn more about broadcasting. I'm going to learn more about marketing. I'm going to learn more about equipment behind creating all of this stuff, behind cameras and microphones, and how does it all work? So my very first semester of college was at the same college that I had actually toured. And this semester of college, I went and did a class that was called Audio for Converged Media. And this entire class was just based around, it was a really fun class, but so much of it was based around understanding how to connect your audio for different situations that you might be doing, right? If it's a seminar and you're on a pulpit, how are you going to mic things so that you're not getting reverberating sound? And what does a boundary mic do? And what's a cardioid mic? And all these different things. A big part of it, too, was radio. The college had a radio station. And one of the things that we had to do, really 2 things, with the radio station side of it was, number one, we had to produce a radio ad. And it could be, we could pick whatever business we wanted to. We just had to pick a business, write and produce a radio ad for that business, and that was our project. Submit the project and we're done. The other thing was we had to be a DJ live on the college radio station for, I want to just say it was like 2 or 3 times throughout the semester for just an hour. So I did all of that, had a blast. I thought it was so much fun. But I kind of started to diverge away from that. I kind of got thinking at a certain point in life that I didn't know if I wanted to continue down this path because, to be honest, just not in a good mental health space at the time. And I just kind of wanted the easy way out of college. I just thought, okay, I'm going to go find a job or find a career path in a college path that leads to an easy career, something that I can just land in when I'm done with school. Well, I never finished school. I took some time off. I was married. Spoiler alert, got divorced. But I was married to someone who was also going through school, and it was just not feasible for us to go together at the same time. And so I decided to go work full time. And what I was doing was not being creative. It was a very generic, like, factory job. But it paid the bills at the time. And, we just decided that where we were living at the time was not right for us. We wanted to move closer to home. So when I moved back home, I was looking for a job. And I have a friend who, to this day, is still a very good friend, who posted on their Facebook page saying, hey, we're hiring. If you guys want to work here, here's the application. Come on over. And it was at a radio station. Now, I will say that it was not for any sort of an on-air job. It was nothing creative whatsoever, but I got the job. And so I went to go interview for this job. And this job was actually to help with basically scheduling ads and kind of doing the back-end work of radio. But they decided, they're like, hey, you know what? We really like you. Let's try out in a sales position. I did not like the sales position. I did it for about 6 months. And it was fine. It was okay. I enjoyed writing the ads. I loved making the proposals and all that kind of stuff. The marketing side of it was fine. But I was like, man, I'm surrounded by all of these creative people, and I'm not doing anything. I'm not being creative. These guys are, and I'm not. Well, there was a job opening coming up, and it was for less money than I was making doing sales, but it was to help be a producer. And I was like, hey, I'd love to do this because I'm not going to lie, I'm burning myself out doing this other thing. Can I do this? I feel like I would enjoy it a lot more. They're like, we don't care. Sure, go for it. So I did. This was 7 years ago that I hopped into producing radio ads, and just kind of helping where I needed, filling in. So I start doing that, and I was producing radio ads, and it was tons of fun, and I got to be creative, and it was a great creative outlet for me. Now, about a year or two later, after I was there and I was creating ads and it was tons of fun, there was an opening on the pop music station that we had, still have, called Planet 105.1 in St. George, Utah. And they said, hey, we need a night guy. We need someone to just do 7 to midnight. Would you be willing to DJ those hours? And I was just like, hey, it's a foot in the door. Sure. Yeah, I'll take it over. So I did. I'm going to give you a spoiler alert to the world of radio. For those of you who are curious and they're thinking, man, you did this producing thing and you were there 7 to midnight doing radio. Short answer is no. I was not physically there from, 9 in the morning until midnight working. It's pre-recorded. And I know that breaks a lot of people's hearts when they don't know the secrets to radio. The 7 to midnight thing, I was recording that at like 3 in the afternoon. So it was not at all live. It's just a pre-recorded show. So I was doing that though, and it was still a way to hop on a microphone and get myself comfortable with talking into a microphone, and honestly talking in an empty room by myself, which is not the easiest thing to do. But I will say this, it was at least for just short breaks, a couple minutes, and then I'd move on to the next segment, another couple minutes, whatever. So I'm doing that for a while. COVID comes and goes more or less. And in 2021, my boss came to me and said, Kaden, I want your input and your thoughts on this idea. Okay, boss, let's hear it. I want to start a sports station. I think a sports station would be tons of fun. I think we'd be really good and really competitive in the market. What do you say? Can you help us out with that? I said, absolutely. I would love to do this. At this point, I was already producing a sports podcast. I wasn't on the sports podcast, but I was producing it, and ended up being an award-winning podcast, by the way, which was kind of unexpected. We won, I don't remember what the award was called, but we won some sort of like a regional award amongst the Western United States. So it was kind of cool. I don't even know what the award was, to be honest. It was a while ago. So anyway, I was already familiar with the sports world. I was already familiar. Obviously, I've been following sports all my life, so that side of it was easy. But the concept was, let's get this sports station going. So in April of 2021, we launched this sports station with no live local content. All it was at that point was just trying to get things rolling, just get the ball rolling. By August of 2021, we knew that we wanted to start a live show. And so me and another guy that worked there, his name's Mark, me and Mark were the ones that the boss was like, all right, I think you guys would be the right fit for this. Let's see what you guys can do. So August 2nd of 2021 was the first time that I did a live sports broadcast, 2 hours of a live local show. And it was difficult. It was so hard. I was so used to talking in front of a microphone in a room by myself for like 2 or 3 minute segments. And I just would do, about a dozen of those, if not a little more. Then I was done for the day. And that was it. That's all I had to do in front of a microphone, outside of maybe recording an ad here or there. But no, I had to go and do a full 2-hour show. Luckily, it was banter with someone, and it was about sports, which was something that I loved, but I still got to say, it was so difficult to just sit down and talk for 2 hours. But at least there was banter. Over time, as with anything, over time, the show gets better. Okay. The show got better and better, and we started doing really well. We, a few weeks later into August, we start broadcasting local football games. And so now I'm doing play-by-play for the first time, really since a little bit of dabbling at it in high school, right? I'm back to doing play-by-play for football at the high school level, but still. And that side of it turned out to be something that I didn't know I would love so much. And it's really fun. And it's just high school football, but it was something that I really enjoyed, which then, of course, turned into basketball season, which is my favorite sport. And so I'm doing basketball games play-by-play, which turns into baseball games, doing that play-by-play, and continuing rolling on with this sports show. Across that time of doing the show, and by the way, I am still doing the show today. I am still, same show. I've been on that show since 2021. Here we are in 2025, and I'm still doing a show. It's called From the Bleachers. We have some of our show clips posted as podcasts, which is kind of fun. So if you feel so inclined to go check out those podcasts as well, just search for From the Bleachers. But yeah, I've gone through, now I'm on my third co-host along with me. Mark has since come and gone, but I still talk to him regularly. I've had Paul on with me, and he's currently on our morning show, which I'll talk about in just a second. And now I'm with a kid named Nathan, who's gung-ho, 20-year-old, who's just absolutely loving the fact that he gets to talk sports with me all day long. Throughout the course of the show, and throughout the course of the last few years of doing this sports radio station, a few things have happened for me. I have seen this station grow to be the most competitive sports content in at least my little corner of the world, which is awesome. We have also kind of pulled away some of the competition, and, not by anything, not by any nefarious means by any sense, but, just opportunities opened up. And so we brought over one of the guys that's been doing local sports the longest in my area in Southern Utah. And he came over, and so he's doing the morning show and I'm doing the afternoon show, and we're just having a blast over there. Since then, I've done some big things. I've interviewed guys like, I've interviewed Jose Canseco, had him in the studio with me to do a charity event. And I know he might be a polarizing guy. Your personal thoughts about him can be what they are if you know who he is. But had a blast talking to him. I've talked to two-time MVP Del Murphy. Talked to him a couple of times, and he's an absolute joy. If you don't know who he is, he's another baseball player. And been able to call some college games, doing the play-by-play stuff. I've done some Division I football on the radio, and some D1 basketball as well in the WAC or the UAC, or the conferences. UAC for football and the WAC for basketball. But all of that has been so much fun to be able to really just see that full circle moment for me. Going back to where I was in high school, and in that classroom where this guy says, yeah, there's a really small chance you'll ever have any sort of a job making money doing sports. To now, here I am about 13 years later, and really it was 10 years from when that interview, or from when that seminar happened. 10 years from that seminar happening, I had my own sports show in the same city that guy told me that it's probably not going to happen. So it was a full circle moment. I've since been back to that TV studio, actually, to interview some college football players and some different things there. And every time I step in there, I think about being in that room. The very first time I was ever in there was for that seminar, to where someone was telling me I won't be a part of this. I won't be a part of any sort of sports venture, we'll say. Now, I'll admit, I don't know if sports broadcasting is going to be something I will do for the rest of my life. I think it'd be really fun if that could always be at least a little nugget in my life along the road. I wouldn't mind if someone calls me up and says, hey, you want to help me do a basketball game? Sure, I'm all in. I will definitely do a basketball game if someone calls me up and asks me to. But I just don't know what the future holds for me. What I do know is I love to make content. I love being in front of a microphone. And so that's why I'm doing this podcast, because I also love to talk to people who also love the things that I love. And in this case, it's content creation. I like talking to people about their creativity. I like talking to them about why they do what they do. And I just like to get to know people. So ultimately, the goal here is to just build something, to build a community, to build an archive. I want this podcast to be ultimately an archive of a bunch of creative people. And it's a giant collaboration, It's a spot where someone listening to an episode of my podcast might go find someone that's a musical artist and say, hey, I really like this music. I want to go check that out. They might find another podcast and think, I got to subscribe to that one as well. Maybe they find someone on TikTok. Maybe they find someone on Instagram and they drop them a follow and continue following their content. Maybe you're already following some of these people and you just want to know more about who they are, because if I'm being real, there's so much that us content creators put out that is just surface level. When I'm on the radio, especially when I'm doing my show for Planet 105.1 in St. George, Utah, which, by the way, is an afternoon show now. I've moved up in the world and I'm doing an afternoon show. I don't have the time to share everything about my life. The sports show, I definitely share more because I'm talking more. I have a lot more time to really hop in and talk about my life. But a podcast is a place where people can do that. There are certain content creators that you may follow, that I may follow, that they don't offer up everything on their channels. They don't offer up everything through maybe their own podcast. Maybe they're kind of like me, and where they're in the interview seat, they don't talk a lot about what they do. And maybe they did, and it was buried so many episodes ago, you don't even know that it happened. So that's what this is. For you content creators out there, understand this for me is a new podcast, and I really want to get some guests on this show. I'm going to be reaching out to a lot of my personal favorite content creators, and I'd like to see if I can get some of them on. But if you're a content creator and you're thinking, yeah, I'll tell my story, feel free to reach out to me. Okay. The Creator Archive, I'm on Instagram. You can find me over there and just send me a message and say, hey, I listened to the podcast or I watched the podcast. I'm going to try to post these on YouTube if I can. Maybe not all of them will be filmed, but I will do what I can to post some of these on YouTube as well. If you guys want to be on the podcast because you are a content creator of some sort, musician, actor, maybe you just do marketing for a company and you want to tell me about the fun creative things you do there, I'm all for it. I just want to talk different avenues of content creation with people and why they do what they do. And I want to inspire people. I want people to understand that there's avenues out there where you can be creative and just let yourself loose. And it doesn't take much. It can be with equipment that you already have on hand. If you have a phone, you can already create half the content that most people are doing between YouTube videos and Reels and TikToks and even podcasts you can do from your phone. So that's the goal. That's what the Creator Archive is. It is all about us, the creators, and the people consuming what the creators make as well. So follow along with me. It's going to be a ride. I'm really excited to be hopping on with it. I'm going to be having a guest in the next episode, someone who I work very closely with, someone that has a lot of followers through both Instagram and TikTok, and also does a radio show. if you know who I'm talking about, because you've maybe seen his face around here in Southern Utah or on Instagram throughout the world, and especially in Utah. It's going to be an absolute blast. I'll just say that much. So that's going to be coming up in next week's episode, so you don't want to miss out on that. But until then, I appreciate you listening. Subscribe and follow along. Leave a review if you can. 5 stars if you think I'm great. 1 if you think I suck. I don't care. Just leave some great reviews if you can. I'm just really excited to be doing this, and we'll see where it goes. It's going to be fun. So thank you for joining me for the first episode of the Creator Archive, and we'll see you next time.